Hey, this just in, college football playoff rankings have come out, and Georgia's not number one. Kirby Smart won't care. You shouldn't care. I don't care. It's pointless. But is it? See, the question is it? Is it pointless? We're going to talk about why it might not be as pointless as you think next on Locked On Bulldogs.
You are Locked On Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Today's episode, by the way, brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel, make every moment more. FanDuel.com/locked on. More on them in a moment. College football rankings did come out this last night. Here's the deal. Where the heck is everybody? If you don't know, Georgia is second in the rankings. Ohio State pulls in number one. Michigan and Florida State also in there as well, rounding out the top four. Michigan just getting in there. Florida State as well. And here's the deal. Here's the interesting fact. Many of us are going to come on here and say, well, hey, Georgia's a two-time national championship winner. We're defending national champs. We're undefeated this year. We have an incredible offense and incredible defense, all things pointing and looking like we should be number one. Why in the world is Ohio State number one? Well, I don't know, first of all. Just if you can, this is why. I'm going to start with three things today. One, we're going to talk about the rankings themselves, who got in. Two, why is it stupid? This just in, because people are democratically voting on it. That's like, if you want to see why it's stupid, is because people are in a room literally voting their opinion on something, and they collectively come up with an understanding of the ranking. So just please hear that. Okay. And then lastly, who should be top? Does Georgia have a case to be top? Is Ohio State? Is it Michigan? Is it Florida State? Is it somebody outside? Is it Washington and Oregon, who are 5 and 6 looking in? What does that look like? But first, I want to talk about what the rankings are. They did come out. And again, it's quite interesting. Florida State 4, Michigan 3, Georgia 2, Ohio State 1, Washington 5, Oregon is 6. And let's start with who these, what the resume builders of these teams are. We know Georgia. We know, in fact, who they are, what they bring to the table, how that impacts our season looking ahead. We win the SEC East. We win the SEC. We are in the college football playoff. Like, just slow your roll. The SEC winner is in. We take care of business against Missouri. We're in. Y'all, we're in. Got to take care of business against Tennessee as well. I understand, but we are in with that. Okay. If that's the case, let's look at Ohio State. Let's start by looking at some other competition, some other people that are in. Ohio State's schedule so far. I just want to tell you, for all the chest beating Ohio State fans, and for everybody that's saying Georgia hasn't played nobody. Well, we're about to play somebody 3 straight weeks. We did just play Florida, who apparently I was told was quite good. Turns out they're not so good. Turns out they are still filth. But here's Ohio State. Let me just share it with you so that we can objectively look at it together and come away with some takeaways. Indiana, okay, 23-3 in that game. Real barn burning against Indiana. Youngstown State, 35-7. Western Kentucky, my goodness, Hilltoppers might want to go back to them hills. 63-10. Ohio State against Notre Dame with a 3-point victory because Notre Dame can't count to a full set of 11 on the field. Ohio State beat Notre Dame by 3 points because Notre Dame can't count to 11. Maryland 37-17 win. Ohio State 41-7 Purdue. Penn State, Ohio State 20, Penn State 12. And then this last weekend's Wisconsin, which, by the way, the score says 24-10, but that game was really close heading into the fourth quarter. That game was a nail biter. Wisconsin converts on a third down, doesn't give up the ball deep in their zone. That's a different game for Wisconsin. They were in that fight. So far, Ohio State has the best win on the resume is Notre Dame, 17-14. And this just in, Notre Dame has not been that good. I think Freeman, the coach over there, is doing really good, really good stuff. I really like what he's doing. But they beat Notre Dame, that is the they in this sentence. Beat, okay, USC, who we're finding out, USC, not that great. They lost to Louisville. Louisville's a good team, though. Louisville is good. They just absolutely trounced this last weekend. Beat Duke. We found out Duke's a pretty dang good team. NC State. Hey, ask Clemson how NC State is as a team. Notre Dame doesn't have notable wins on the schedule outside of USC, but USC is not the team that they were, and Louisville did beat them. So Ohio State, that victory is not looking that impressive, all things considered, on that. And go to Penn State. Penn State is a pretty dang good football team, but does not have an explosive deep threat whatsoever. Ohio State has beat up on competition they should beat up on, and not in an impressive fashion. Not impressively. Okay. That's who they are. Florida State. Let's check in on the Seminoles, who, by the way, I just really like college football when Florida State is doing well. By the way, if you're over on YouTube, thanks for joining us. Go over to the audio side, download, subscribe, listen. If you're on the audio side, go over to YouTube, do the same thing. Leave us comments, leave us reviews. Really like hanging out with y'all. Florida State. This is where things get a little interesting because they're in a trash conference. They played against LSU, and LSU lost miserably to them. They have a Heisman front runner, a Heisman candidate at quarterback. They play Southern Miss, Boston College, Clemson, who is down bad. Virginia Tech, real down bad. Syracuse, not that great. Duke, pretty dang good football team. Wake Forest, down bad. If you look at Florida State, the best win to date is against LSU. And if LSU beats Alabama, which I predict they will this weekend, that resume looks a little bit better. Duke's good football team. Clemson is not. LSU is the big notable win on that schedule. But again, not chocked full of incredible wins. All things considered, they've done their job. They've taken care of business. LSU at the beginning of the season didn't have any defensive players. They still don't have any defensive players. And as Kelly said, nobody's walking through those doors as somebody new. So that's really interesting. Duke probably, as well as LSU, the best wins on their schedule so far. Let's go to Michigan. Don't even get me started on the whole scandal thing. It's a joke. Harbaugh, you're a joke. Please stop coaching. Everywhere you go, bad stuff follows you. If we look at Michigan's win schedule so far, here are the wins of note. UNLV, not a good team. East Carolina, not a good team. Bowling Green, not a good team. Rutgers, somewhat of a good team. Minnesota, you're in a barn burner for lowest points scored in every single game, and you gave up 10. Just let that sink in for a hot minute. If you're over on YouTube, you just watch me sneeze. If you're on audio side, you're wondering what's that silence all about. Rutgers, 7 points. Minnesota, who can't score against anybody, scored 10 on you. Nebraska, not this season for Nebraska. Indiana, again, shared opponent there, Ohio State. And then Michigan State, boo. Okay, legitimately really quick, Michigan. I know you have shown out against these teams, metrically, offensively, defensively, been pretty good, but it's been against UNLV, East Carolina, Bowling Green, Rutgers, Nebraska, Minnesota, Michigan State, and Indiana. Please stop. Full stop talking about schedule strength. This is an embarrassment of a schedule. The hardest games are still in front. Maryland can put up some points. Penn State, Ohio State, Purdue this weekend. But please, Michigan fan, be quiet and be happy that you're there because you shouldn't be. It's an embarrassment. That's who's in. I think if you look at strength of schedule, Georgia has the most impressive resume so far. Ohio State, I guess. I don't know. Are they really that good? Have they really impressed? Have it really been that sizable, their wins and their strength and who they've done? Do they have any impressive players on offense, or are they just kind of middle and by? Has anybody on defense stood out to them where they're all class? Has it been a pretty good season, pretty good team? And do I think that they want that Michigan-Ohio State game to have some more intrigue? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And Ohio State, to me, is this year's. It's funny, they're number one, but they're the team that I am begging to play in the college football playoff if I'm anybody. If I'm looking at the college football playoff right now, of the 4 teams that are in there so far, even 5 and 6, I am begging to play Ohio State. I'd rather play Ohio State because I think Oregon's a better team. I think Washington's a better team. I think Michigan's a better team. And I think Florida State's a better team. And I know Georgia's a better team than Ohio State. All other of those teams, all 5 other teams in the top 6, would salivate playing Ohio State right now, today. We're going to come back after this. I'm going to talk to you about why it's stupid, why it's ridiculous, and why you should not care one bit about the rankings, or should you? But first, these. And these are, in fact, FanDuel. FanDuel makes every moment more. You should make every moment more. FanDuel.com/locked on. And you're going to get here's the deal. You go on FanDuel. They're the official sports book of Locked On College and Locked On Podcast and Locked On Bulldogs. We love them. You should love them. Daniel and I go there every single time. We're going to give locks out this week. It's going to be a little bit of a different schedule looking for Missouri. I'm going to be here today. Daniel's going to be here tomorrow. And then Friday, we're going to give out locks. Daniel's going to come back with nervous, excited, don't sleep on. But all the locks we're giving out on Friday, go to FanDuel.com/locked on. This is what happens if you put down a bet of $5. Whether it cashes or not, you get bonus bets on top of that because FanDuel is safe, is efficient, it is quick, it is easy. Make every moment more. FanDuel.com/FanDuel.com/locked on to get that. You place a bet, first time you make a $5 wager. It doesn't cash or it cashes. You get bonus bets from FanDuel. That's how great it is. It's fantastic. Get over there right now. It's the most trusted sports book on the planet. We love them. You should love them too. FanDuel.com/locked on. Make every moment more. All right, we're talking college football playoff picture, what it looks like right now. The rankings did come out. Georgia comes in at number 2, Ohio State number 1, Florida State 3, Michigan 4, which, by the way, again, not impressive. Any of these teams not named Florida, I'm not impressed. Oh, by the way, I misspoke. I apologize. Michigan number 3, Florida State 4. Freudian slip, because Michigan, I don't want you to be in there. But I'm going to go back. Here's why it's stupid. It's rankings based on people who are voting in a room together and talking about it. They look at strength of schedule. It's kind of like the people that do. Daniel and I joke all the time. He's a craft singles guy. I'm a charcuterie board guy. But every so often, somebody will be like, "Hey, try this cheese," and I'm like, "Oh, it's good. It's great." And I do like good cheese. I like good food. But then they start telling me about the notes and the hint of this and the hint of that, and they start getting really, really nitty picky. And I just go, "Please stop." Like, I know what you're saying might be true, but please stop. It's ruining the whole entire effect for me. That's what college football playoff committee is. Let's get in a room. Let's chat. Let's get down to business. Let's get strength of schedule. Let's get explosiveness. Let's get eye test. Let's see common opponents. Let's see who they played. Let's see roster. Let's see talent. Let's see coaching. Let's see intrigue. Let's see narrative. And they get so lost in the weeds that they can't look up and they can't see that other teams are probably more capable, like in Oregon. If I'm Oregon, I'm mad today, but I also don't care. I didn't handle business against Washington. I'm right there up in at 6. I think it's actually the best case scenario that Oregon fan could have hoped for. I don't think you couldn't be 5 because you were never going to get ahead of Washington. But I think what the committee is saying is you can still get in. Pac-12 winner still gets in. And Washington, it might not be you. But if you look at the rest of them, I'm going to give you last year's very first college football rankings. Tennessee came out number 1, admittedly, just for a hot 5 days, and then got shellacked by Georgia. Ohio State came in number 2. Georgia was 3rd, and then Clemson was 4th. They finished 7th. Georgia finished 1st. Ohio State 4th. Tennessee 6th. That means half of the top 4 when they came out did not make the top 4, didn't finish in the top 4 to finish it out. Ohio State, again, Georgia wins it all. Ohio State loses in the first round. But Clemson, not even close. Tennessee, not even close at the end of it. Michigan comes in there as well. And here's what's really unique to me about how this all plays out. And here's why it does matter, but it doesn't matter. It matters because the higher seed you are to begin in the college football playoff, the more likely it is that you can retain that. You want to be higher. You don't want to be lower. You don't want to be 8th or 9th or 10th and have to work your way up. You could still do that, but it typically is 6 teams. We've said at the beginning of the season, the committee seems to say the same thing. If you look at how this committee has voted and what they're putting people on, it seems to me there are 6 notable teams that could make some noise. That's it. There's not 10. There's not 25. This isn't top 25. This isn't top 10, top 15, something like that. There are 6 teams. And here are the 6 teams. Because I'm going to get to 7, 8, 9, 10 even. I'll go to 10. It'll be interesting because Georgia will have something to say at number 10, which is interesting because Michigan And Ohio State can't say this right now that Georgia can. So we'll get to that in a moment. But if you look at 5 and 6, Washington and Oregon, you get to 7, Texas. Texas is not getting in without Ewers playing quarterback. Talented team, sure, but they need Ewers. 8 is Alabama, and I'm telling you right now, Alabama is one of the worst offenses I've seen this year in the SEC. Good defense, cool, bro. Good coach, cool, bro. I don't trust you as far as I can throw you. Oklahoma, yeah, you went ahead and messed around and got real stupid and lost your chance because now you don't pass the eye candy test, the record test, the strength of schedule test, or common opponents test. You screwed up. Then you get to Ole Miss at 10. Georgia plays Ole Miss, and then Penn State after that. So Georgia has a scheduled opponent. Ohio State and Michigan, clearly that the big game. But Missouri comes in at 12. 10 and 12 so far are on the schedule. Then you get 17 at Tennessee as well. We have 10, 12, 17 yet to go on our schedule. Ohio State, Michigan can't say that. They have each other and they have Penn State. And Ohio State's already done that. Michigan still has that to do. I'm just saying. Georgia has more of a chance to make up ground, and we're already sitting at 2 than anybody else does. I think if we suffer a loss instead, I still think we get to play a couple of those teams. We could still get back into the SEC. We beat those teams because of how the rankings go. We have a built-in system to get back in the playoff. I don't think we will, but even if we do, take L versus Ole Miss, Missouri, or Tennessee, again, 10, 12, 17 so far. I think I think those teams are going to win. Missouri not this weekend, but I think those teams are going to keep winning until we play them. Now Georgia wins against top 17 college football playoff rankings, getting to the SEC championship. We still got an outside chance with a 1 loss because Michigan, Ohio State, one of those teams is going to have a 1 loss and won't be champion. Okay, that's interesting. One of those teams will have a 1 loss, will play less college football ranked opponents and won't be a champion. We could have 1 loss, play more college football ranked opponents and be champion of our conference. You know how that works out? Florida State is the easiest cakewalk into this college. You have to be a bonehead, Florida State, to ruin this for yourself. You really do. It doesn't matter because if you look at it, you want to be high up, but it honestly doesn't matter that much. Because teams that tried to come out and tried to do well previously fumbled. They fumbled the bag. Again, TCU was 7th the very first time coming through the rankings last year, wound up in the national championship game against Georgia. That's interesting to me. 7th. So the 7th ranked team right now, it's Texas. Do we really trust Texas to get in? Do they have an outside shot? Sure. Do I think they can compete? Not with Ewers out. I think it doesn't matter because, again, at the end of the day, Georgia has a built-in system to get back in with the SEC championship, and even especially against Alabama. If Alabama doesn't screw up and lose to LSU this weekend, Alabama keeps going. We lose to one of the 4 of Alabama, Ole Miss, Missouri, Tennessee, but we still make the SEC championship game, and we play Alabama, and we beat them. We are guaranteed in. We can still lose 1 and get in and do business. That is true. So it doesn't matter, but it does matter. You want to be higher ranked. We're going to come back after this, and I'm going to just ask, and I'm going to answer my own question. I'm going to volley to myself and then ask and come down with the question, who should be number 1? Did the committee get it right? Why or why not? And you're going to leave comments all day long, and I'm going to love it. But first, these. These are, in fact, eBay Motors. eBay Motors, the right part, the right fit, the right price. eBay guarantee. And it's only for U.S. customers. And here's what happens with the eBay guaranteed fit. For the right parts, the right price, the right fit every single time. You enter into my garage. You say what make, model, year your car is. Go to eBay, you shop the parts, headlight, interior, you got a shift knob, you got an armrest, you got a seat belt, headlight, alternator, a cap of some sort, anything that you need for your car. Head over right now, ebaymotors.com, and get the right parts, the right fit, the right price every single time. It's guaranteed because every single time you put your vehicle into that garage, it's in there. And then when you search parts, it's going to go and give you a confirmation. Yes, this part does in fact fit your vehicle. Why? You told me, we checked. eBay takes care of you. eBay Motors, the right parts, the right fit, the right price every single time. ebaymotors.com. All right, we're back and we're talking about who should be number 1. Many Georgia fans are up in arms. I don't think you should be. I don't care. Again, Kirby doesn't care. He legitimately means it, by the way. Dabo cares. I'll tell you that much right now. Dabo cares. Which, by the way, shout out to a couple teams in the top 25 and shout out to the 199. 199, you're here. If you're listening to this, you're a loyal third segment listener. You're part of the 199. You're part of the tried and true, the bled in Chili's crew of being loyal third segment listeners of Locked On Podcast. Here's what's interesting. A couple shout out Kansas. Shout out to you 21, Tulane 24, Air Force 25. Shout out to all y'all. Do work. Utah, inexplicably 18th. They can't score a single point, but they're 18th. That's wild to me. Notre Dame hanging at 15. Oregon State, why'd you go ahead and do this weekend, but you're at 16? Here's what's really interesting about did the committee get it right? I don't know, and I don't care. Honestly, if you want to look at just points given up and points scored, Michigan has a chance to be really special this year in that statistic. They played nobody, but they have a real chance to be important on that. Florida State, they're talented. I watched them against LSU. I watched some other games. They're really talented. They got a great quarterback. They got a great offensive system. Norvell's doing some things over in Tallahassee. I think Florida State absolutely should have been 3. I would put them in top 3, but it's because they have just a cakewalk of a schedule. It's the weakest conference they can get right in. Michigan, I don't want to hear it from you. I'm so sick and tired of you. We don't want to put you in the playoff because you're going to lose the first game. You're going to lose. Okay. Ohio State, you beat up. You shouldn't say beat up. You escaped with a win against Notre Dame. I don't know why Ohio State's won. I'm going to be completely honest. I could see in years prior Ohio State, like last year, Ohio State being ranked above, wouldn't have made me mad at all. They had an all-world talent quarterback, wide receiver, and a pretty dang good defense, if I'm going to be honest. This year, no all-world quarterback, barely squeaking out wins, can't get a drive going against Wisconsin until late in the fourth quarter, seal that game up. Notre Dame can't count. I mean, why is Ohio State? This is my big, I don't care. Georgia 2, 3, 4. I don't really, 7, 6, 5, whatever. Do your thing, committee. But you're all telling me you got in a room, you watched game film of all of these schools, and you thought Ohio State was the most impressive to you, deserved to be tops in the nation with the wins, the players, the stats, everything that's going on. What is going on? It's simply because you wanted to punish Michigan. I swear to you, it was all, you just wanted to rub it in Michigan's face like some sort of bad animal who does the duty on somewhere he's not supposed to, and you're going to rub his face. It's just weird. Like, it's really weird to put Ohio State because they shouldn't be. Georgia 2, 3, 5, whatever. I still think Washington should have been in the top 4. If I had a vote, if I had anything, it'd be Georgia 1, probably Florida State 2, probably be for me Washington 3, and then Michigan 4. Michigan, you haven't beat anybody. Stop talking. That's what it'd be. Now, if Ohio State keeps winning, when they get to Michigan, the winner of that game, if Ohio State loses, will drop to 4, and that's all they're going to drop. If Michigan loses, they will get out of the top 4. Washington will come back in. I think Michigan goes to 5 or 6 at that point. But if Ohio State loses to Michigan, I think, goes to 1. I don't think we do. Georgia has to handle business against Missouri. Who should be tops? We should be tops. Doesn't matter. No. Am I pissed off? No. Am I slighted? No. Washington should be in the top 4. That's who should feel slighted about this. Florida State should be higher than Ohio State. Texas shouldn't feel slighted at all. Oklahoma should feel lucky to be at 9. So of all the teams that has a chance to get into it, I think the top 6 are there. It's rightly so. I don't think the committee messed up on the top 6. Now let's go do work, win on the field, and take care of business. That's it. That's what the committee has told us with this top 6. The top 6 is the 6 we thought before the season that could have a legit shot. Clemson was in there for a couple of people, but then again, no, they weren't. I think it has the chance to just rotate those 6 out, 1 through 6 at some point, some combination of it with the teams that are already there. That's it. Dale's going to be back tomorrow. He's going to tell you what he's excited, nervous, don't sleep on for this Missouri game. I am Clint. He'll be back then. This has been Locked On Bulldogs, part of Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. We'll see y'all tomorrow.